Well, welcome back to Two Pastors and a Mic. My name is Cory.
And I'm Shannick.
And we're so glad that you're joining us wherever you are joining us from, whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Buzzsprout. Did you see that stat on Buzzsprout?
I did. And that really did blow my mind.
Blew my mind.
I didn't even know what to think about it. Like, I don't even know what that really means, but share them the stat.
I have no idea what it means either, but Buzzsprout sent us an email saying that we were the top 25% podcasts on Buzzsprout, which Buzzsprout is just a hosting site.
Yeah.
So that's all platforms. So thank you, whatever you're listening to. We appreciate that. If you're watching us on YouTube or GAN, what up? This is the last week that we're doing of my book, What If I Told You? Big shout out to whoever bought 11 copies over the weekend in one transaction.
Nice.
That's what I'm talking about. If you're going to buy in bulk, now's the time to do it. This is the perfect stocking stuffer. It's 21-day devotional. Go do the dang thing. We appreciate all of you, seriously, who listen and support and share. So
absolutely. And then, of course, next week will be our Christmas
Can you believe
episode, but also the last episode of year 4. Right?
The last episode. If you're not going to watch or you don't watch, you should just tune in to see what I'm going to wear for that episode.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Merry
I don't
Christmas
even know this, so I'll be surprised as well.
Holiday.
Whatever. But as Cory said, we are at the last episode going through his book, What If I Told You? Of course, hopefully you've been with us on this journey throughout the book. But if you haven't ordered the book already,
Do it.
would you please go and do that? This podcast, even though it's been kind of walking through each chapter and gives a little snippet of each chapter and some of the devotional stuff to go along with it or the guided meditation, this podcast is not a substitute for you purchasing the book.
Do it. Oh, thanks, bro.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So go out, do that. And if you want to buy in bulk, of course, you said they could reach out to you directly, Cory at hillcity.tv, and he can get that set up for you. But as each episode has started, we'll do the same for the last episode. Again, this is a 21-day guide to knowing who you are and why it matters. And really, it's focusing on God's faithfulness. It's about embracing slow living and really just helping people fall in love with their self.
Yeah.
Because what you say is true confidence grows when you begin to love yourself the way that the Creator does.
Yeah, I love that for sure. So last days 20 and 21 of the devotional, we've already talked about whole, loved, unique, chosen, qualified, worthy, secured, accepted, valued, royal, forgiven, blameless, righteous, known, perfect, masterpiece, saint, holy, which leads us to the last 2 days, victorious and greatness. And these were designed on purpose to be the last 2 days. Victorious, this
saving
is just
the best for last?
No, it's saving the most
empowering.
Like, okay, we've
go out and live this.
Yeah, we've talked 19 days about words that you should accept. Days 20 and 21 are true, but they're designed to empower you to then now leave the devotion and go bring greatness into every room.
This is your way to tell people you can do it.
You can do it. Hey, I did want to put a little selfish plug in there. If you do buy this, all the proceeds of this book are going to feed hungry kids. Those hungry kids' names are Henry, Scarlett, and Zion. So those are my own kids.
I was waiting for that because I was like, wait, whatever you're ready to say, I have not heard about this.
No, I heard a guy like 20 years ago say that joke, and I said, if I ever were to ever write a book, that's what I'm going to say. And I finally said it.
You have not said it yet, but you saved it for the last episode. I like that.
So stupid. Anyways, day 20, it's victorious. The question is, what if I told you living victoriously in life has everything to do with how you think about your circumstances? And this is one of those reflective pieces, reflective days of like every single one of us has gone through all kinds of heartbreaks and disappointments. And if you trace back those heartbreaks and disappointments, almost every time it's either someone doing something to you or a choice that you have made. Now, not every time, but majority of the times. And
of a choice. Go back to a choice someone made, and that person could have been you that made the choice.
Yeah, most likely. Okay. A lot of the stupid stuff that I'm reaping is because of the stupid choices I've made.
Right.
And the challenge is, and we do this in the counseling setting, is really helping people understand that you may have been victimized and it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a traumatic experience that you've had, but you are not a victim. And it's important not to kind of own the victim
or attach
mentality.
that to your identity.
Attach it to your identity.
Yeah.
And so you might be walking through an extremely difficult season, but you are not defined by it. And really helping people process that in a healthy way. And that takes time. And again, healing doesn't happen in a straight line because you can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to what happens to you. And again, that's a process. There's a lot of grace in that statement. But what I wanted the reader to know on this day is that you do have full control over how you react to life and circumstances. In spite of what our society has told you, you are not a victim. And neuroscientist Dr. Caroline Leaf, she says it this way: we are not even victims of our biology. We are co-creators of our destiny alongside God. And I love that quote.
Yeah, that's amazing. Co-creators of our destiny. And to do that, we have to really kind of overcome our mindset when it comes to our circumstances, whatever that may be, because we all face them. We all have circumstances that happen in our life, but we must never allow those circumstances to dictate our feelings, because our feelings aren't always facts. Jesus himself was treated as a victim, but he never allowed himself to feel or live like one. So in fact, he forgave his abusers in the midst of hanging on the cross. And I'm sure, like, when we bring that up, like even Jesus forgave while he's being crucified, everybody's like, well, yeah, well, that's Jesus. Well, okay. Well, think about this. Stephen, who was stoned to death for his faith in Acts 6 and 7, you can go and read about this story and this encounter. His last prayer wasn't for God to save him from the injustice that was happening to him. Rather, he prayed for the forgiveness of those who were killing him. So this tells us everything we need to know about his victor mentality.
Yeah.
And it shows us that there are other examples other than Jesus in who we can follow as they were following Jesus, right? And so Jesus himself wrapped himself in flesh to empower and transfigure his kids from death to life, depression to joy, anxiety to peace, victim to victor. So our circumstances only have as much power over us as we allow them to. We have full control over our thoughts. So transform the way you think about yourself, because your Heavenly Father calls you righteous, forgiven, loved, chosen, irreplaceable, anointed, perfected, royal, a saint. All the things that we're going through in this book is about a transformation of our mindset.
Yeah.
And that we have the power to do that.
We do. And so the challenge isn't just to just accept these words, but to really challenge the reader, and if you're listening, to change your tune, so to speak, on how you speak specifically about yourself and others. So we have to start speaking life over ourselves to be able to walk in our true identity as sons and daughters of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. You are a victor. You are a saint. You are all the words that are discussed in this book. So we must start claiming them in our lives. So for example, don't write down "you are a victor," personalize it and write down "I am a victor." And it's important that we start speaking I am statements over our lives.
Yeah.
In fact, that's kind of what we do for the guided meditation for today. Is I want you to make a list and write out what you are thankful for. Focus on the good, because we can only focus on what we can control. And then we have to repeat certain statements like I am capable, or I am victorious, or I am enough. It's really important that we begin to align ourselves with proper I am statements. And that's easier to preach than to do, but I encourage you as the listener, as the reader, to begin to start changing the way that you talk.
Yeah, so whatever those circumstances you're facing may be, you can say, well, I am capable. And then I would even take it a step further. You said personalize it by saying I would even say follow up the capable up with whatever those things we're thinking about or the circumstances that's in front of us. So I am capable of loving my kids well, even when I've had a bad day.
Even in this Christmas season when they're so daggone ungrateful.
Yeah, so make it very specific and continue to say those things and then believe them to be true, that you do have the power to be capable to love your kids this Christmas season when they're driving you crazy.
You're preaching to me.
No, it's all good. So there we have it. That is victorious. And then the last one for the book, day 21, is greatness.
Greatness.
What if I told you God believes in you? Which, when I first read that, I actually was like, wow, like, seriously, because we talk all the time about, like, do you believe in God, or I believe in God? And not once have I ever heard someone say, hey, can you reverse that too? You know, God believes in you.
Yeah.
And I really love that. So when you can't see the greatness you were born with, you will settle. You will settle for less.
You will set a
than...
perfect spike. I'm on
Boom,
one today,
you are.
just so you know.
You will settle for less than you're worth. You don't give God any honor by putting yourself down.
Oh, I say that again, because this is what I'm very confrontational with in one-on-one counseling sessions.
Yeah. You don't give God any honor by putting yourself down.
It is time that you confront that inner voice, because most human beings would confront someone else if they talked to them the way that they talk to them.
Right. And speaking of what's confronted or not confronted, if we continue here, Mark 10, you see the disciples arguing over who is the greatest, right? And I love that, right? And you love that. Like,
one of my favorite things.
Talk about you being greatness all the time, and it's good. Jesus did not have a problem with their desire for greatness. That's not what he confronted. He had a problem, though, with what they thought greatness was. Mm-hmm. What's crazy is the same argument over who is the greatest happens again in Luke 22 during the Last Supper. Again, Jesus didn't rebuke his disciples for wanting to be great. Instead, he showed them how to be great by washing their feet. True greatness empowers, serves, and loves others. Greatness is not about winning, controlling, or proving. It's about liberating, healing, and restoring. He showed them their perspective about greatness was kind of jacked up. Greatness in the kingdom of God is not about a bigger title, but rather a bigger towel. When we wash feet, it's about lifting others up without putting ourselves down.
Mic drop right there.
That's good.
It is one of my favorite things to preach when I go preach at youth conferences, or if I get asked to preach and they haven't given me a specific assignment. I'm most likely going to be talking about greatness, because I love what you just said. I'm going to reiterate it. Jesus did not have a problem with their desire. Mm-hmm. He just showed them that their desire was a little bit off, right? Because what they wanted greatness for was for self-recognition, because they probably had never been affirmed before in their life. So Jesus was like, let me affirm you and then show you what greatness is by serving and loving. And what's even crazy about that experience of Jesus washing his feet, and I've seen a lot of posts about this, especially around Easter time every single year, is Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him and still washed his feet. And I think the true test of when you start to internalize these words, the true test of knowing that you're a follower of Jesus is not really how you love Jesus, because it's really easy to love Jesus. He's amazing. The true test is, are you able and do you love Judas?
Crickets.
I struggle with that. It's easy for me 100%. To talk about loving Jesus, but then do I love Judas? Because ultimately that's who I'm to love. And so when we begin to understand true greatness, which is, again, loving, serving, empowering other people, we understand the greatness that is within ourselves. Therefore, we're no longer striving like the disciples were to be known and valued in society. We already know that we're known and valued by the Creator, and then it changes how we live, whether we get recognition or not, because then you know you're great in the King's eyes, which again is the whole purpose of this. So we also must begin to kill the idea of what we think greatness looks like, and specifically kill this idea that greatness looks different than faithfulness to everyday life things. And so this is the mindset that I'm trying to help people understand, because greatness does require discipline, but greatness is simply serving and loving others from the overflow of being served and loved by God, which you have always been served and loved by God, which is a very controversial statement to actually process when you think about the fact, because many people in the church will say that how you worship God is by serving, and yet Jesus served humanity. Some say that Jesus worshiped humanity. Okay, I'm just going to drop that and we'll move on. But I want to reiterate that greatness often looks like mundane, simple stuff that you are consistently faithful to on an everyday experience. So, for example, greatness is in you, but it's expressed by serving and loving your spouse, your kids, your parents, your friends. Being great is recognizing that normal is okay. Being great is being a present spouse and parent. Being great is looking out for your friends and rejoicing at their success, while also being a shoulder to lean on in their failures. Being great is about doing the millions of small things that bring accomplishment into the picture. Being great starts when you stop striving for a position that you already have. Being great is not about following Jesus to get to heaven. It's about bringing heaven to earth. It's about recognizing the power that you already have, the power to bring heaven into every room you walk into.
Love that. So what is the guided meditation then for greatness, and how do you close out the book?
Yeah. So when I wrote that last line, which the last line is, being great is about recognizing that you have the power to bring heaven into every room you walk into. I was processing that line with Brittany. And at the time that I wrote that, there was a fairly new song by Johnny Swim, who's one of my favorite artists. What Johnny Swim did during COVID to engage with their fans when they weren't allowed to travel was awesome. They're just an incredibly talented duet. Is that what you call them? Duet? Mm-hmm. They got a lot of some of my favorite songs ever. I've seen them live. They're incredible. They're almost better live than they are on recording, which is very rare in the music industry. But they released this song called Heaven is Everywhere. And I want to encourage you to go listen to the song and recognize the fact that heaven is everywhere, and then walk in your greatness. And that's the wrap.
Love that. So there you have it, all 21 days. Hopefully you stayed with us.
Yeah, you might have gotten bored, process. But hopefully not.
You may have, but it's okay. You'll be able to pick it back up here as we close out the year and beginning next year. I would say, if you have been following us on this journey, I would love to see maybe one of the things or one of the weeks that's helped you the most process your identity.
Put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments.
Share
Reach
it.
out to us. Share it.
Put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Comment on Instagram.
All the stuff.
Put a review. Go buy the book and then write a review on Amazon and talk about how amazing it is. Again, you're feeding starving children.
And to clarify, if you didn't hear it the first time, those starving kids are Henry, Scarlett, and Zion. His own kids.
My own kids. I love it. Hey, it has been a fun ride. Thanks for letting us unpack this book. I hope it blesses you. Be on the lookout. We got a lot of projects coming in 2025. I'm actually very excited about 2025 in terms of content. We're giving away a lot of content. Channick's book's coming out 2025. I'm gonna just drop that pressure on him to get it done. No, it's no pressure, because it's just the overflow of the Spirit within. It's gonna be amazing. I got a kid's book coming in January. It's gonna be a lot of fun with my neighbor, Josh McCain. Big shout out to Josh. He's probably mowing the grass right now, even though it's December. He's probably definitely mowing the grass while listening to this. If not, he'll catch up to this in April whenever you start mowing. He'll be like, hey.
Love it.
Big shout out. But yes, make sure you do it. Hey, we hope Christmas, New Year, if you don't catch up until January, we loved all the support. We have always been grateful for it. Tune in next week on Christmas Day. We got our fun look back, look ahead episode that we do every single year to close out the year, giving you a bunch of statistics, a lot of our favorites. We hope you tune in. If not, Merry Christmas to your family. Happy New Year. And we'll see you in 2025.
So what if I told you you are loved and there's nothing you can do about it?